Florida Instacart shoppers, there is an extremely high possibility that you are uninsured. Let's talk about it. I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog. Normally I bring you tips for bigger tips and better ratings, but today this is about protecting your financial future. Let's hit it. I just did a video about insurance and why you might not be covered, and that was for a general audience around the country. But right now I need to speak specifically to Florida drivers because of Florida's extremely complicated insurance laws. Now, longtime residents of Florida understand that there's a big mess with insurance laws, and it's probably a reason why you see a lot of lawyer ads on TV and a lot of billboards all across the state, because Florida insurance is a huge mess, as I just found out recently when I needed to renew my insurance policy and get a commercial policy that would cover my work. I just want to make something perfectly clear right from the start. I am not an attorney and I am not an insurance agent. I am not licensed to do either one. I am only telling you about my personal experiences and what I'm afraid may be happening to you and you don't even know it. When you signed up for Instacart or any other gig app, you know that they asked you for a copy of your insurance ID card. They wanted to know, did you have coverage? But did you read the next line in that? Instacart specifically said, make sure that your insurance company covers the type of work that you will be doing. I did just that. So, in March of 2020, I called my insurance company, told them that I had signed up for Instacart to be a grocery shopper, and would I be covered? Fortunately, they said yes. Because of the pandemic, they were covering that work through their existing policies. That was great. It wasn't going to cost me more, and I knew that I was covered. Now, over the course of the next 15 months, I did make phone calls to my insurance company several times just to make sure that I was still covered, because knowing that they could drop that coverage at any time, I wanted to make sure that I was still protected. About a month before my renewal, this is now in June of 2021, they informed me that I would need to buy a commercial policy because they were phasing out that extra coverage. Okay, fine. So I waited for my renewal to come in the mail. So a week before my policy expired on July 24th of 2021, I see that it's the personal policy and I needed to add a commercial rider or something, or I had no idea what to do. So I call them up. Unfortunately, I got the biggest surprise of my life. Not only was I met with extreme hostility on the phone by this customer service rep, and I told them what type of work I do, not only would they not let me talk to their commercial division, but they also told me that they would not cover me at all. And after I expressed my shock and then my displeasure, saying I've been a customer of yours for the majority of the last 30 years off and on, and this is how you're going to treat me, and you're going to leave me hanging just days before my policy renewal, the guy says, you might want to talk to an independent agent. I said, I'm going to do just that. This is where things get really messy. So I began calling a lot of independent insurance agents around Pensacola, where I live and where I've been doing this work for the last 15 months. And I found out a lot of things. Number one, a lot of companies will not cover you. Number two, you must have a commercial policy. There is no rider that goes onto a personal policy unless you're an Uber or Lyft driver for passengers. The Uber ride share, the Lyft ride share. But if you're doing Uber for pizza, you're not covered. I can't explain it. The pizza can't sue you, the passenger can, but yet the passenger is covered under one policy, but yet the pizza is not on that same policy. But wait, there's more. So I talked to a number of other insurance agents around here. I've lost count of how many that I've talked to. Some wouldn't talk to me at all. Others threw me some numbers that were way off the charts, that was like $10,000 a year for a commercial policy. There's no way in hell I'm paying that. And then when I thought I found one who said he could cover me, I was a little concerned because it was not a commercial policy. It was a personal policy with some sort of endorsement for quote-unquote business use. But I learned that you have to be very specific that you're doing food delivery and grocery delivery, because they are very different types of business use of the vehicle, and insurance companies really frown upon that. When I asked the guy for a printout of the estimate, he wouldn't give it to me. I was done with that agent. I threw up an SOS on my Facebook page saying anybody in the state of Florida can help me, please. And sure enough, a cousin of mine in Miami came through for me with his own personal agent, and he says, I've dealt with this guy, he's gotten me hard to write commercial policies before, give him a call. I did. I am so glad I did, because up to that point I only had one other policy proposal in hand, and it was over $600 a month for a commercial policy, and I've got a great driving record. This agent in Miami was able to help me get the policy that I not only needed, but we went through every little detail on that policy. And here's the good news. It didn't cost me any more money than the renewal of the personal policy that I had just been given a few days prior. I've learned a lot about shopping for insurance in Florida. A, the system is a mess. I ended up calling my state representative, who told me the same thing. And he says anytime we try to get anything done in Tallahassee, it turns into a big mess, because you have a couple of different factions at work. And if one side doesn't like it, then nothing gets done. Another thing I learned, that the problems that I was running into here in Florida do not exist across the border in Alabama. That is wrong. Now, I don't know all the details about Florida insurance regulations, and I don't know what kind of legislation would need to be written in Tallahassee, but I can tell you that I am now working with my state representative to find a solution so that other gig workers in Florida do not have to go through what I just went through. And this is important. Why? Because there's a lot of gig workers in Florida. I suspected there was tens of thousands of us around the state. No, I was wrong. What do you think? Hundreds of thousands? Try again. According to a 2018 study, there were 1.8 million gig workers in the state of Florida, and we know that that gig economy has been growing. Now, the term gig worker is loosely defined. That does include Uber and Lyft rideshare drivers. That also includes piano teachers. That includes anybody who's really not doing traditional work. It could be independent contractors in some other form. So you really need to break it down to food delivery and grocery delivery. And that's why when you talk to your insurance agent, you have to use those specific terms. Food delivery like DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Instacart grocery delivery. You have to be very specific when you talk to them. Here's another thing that I found out. The quotes that I was able to get from the companies that would cover this type of work was Progressive and Bristol West. Those were really the only two companies that were willing to cover me. So Florida drivers, your options are very limited, but you can still get a good rate, especially if you have a good driving history. And chances are you probably do, because when these gig apps hire you, they do check your driving history, and I have heard of drivers that have been booted after receiving traffic tickets after the fact. In the description below, I'm going to put a link to an article that I think would be very useful to you in understanding how this insurance coverage for gig workers applies, because I'm not endorsing anybody, I'm not endorsing a product, and I certainly don't endorse the links that are inside that story. I'm only providing you the article for informational purposes only. It is up to you to find out what solution works best for you and to determine whether you are in compliance with Florida law regarding minimum insurance coverages, and also what is going to cover your type of commercial work. So speak to a qualified insurance agent, and you may have to talk to several. Be ready to spend some considerable time on this. Florida drivers are at a huge disadvantage over drivers in other states due to our goofy insurance regulations and how insurance companies view us gig workers in Florida. After all, Florida has a bigger percentage of gig workers than in any other state. Roughly 20% of the workforce in Florida are gig workers. I'm going to continue to pursue this issue of adequate insurance for Florida drivers, because after talking to a number of insurance agents, some of them didn't even understand this issue. Others kept telling me there's a lot of people out there that are uninsured. So the purpose of this video is to raise the red flag and sound the alarm bells that there is an extremely high chance that you are driving uninsured for all practical business purposes, and you are responsible for knowing that, and you need to fix that as soon as you can so you don't jeopardize your earnings and what you're trying to do for your family in supporting them, which is why you do gig work in the first place. So please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more of my tips for bigger tips and better ratings, and also follow-ups on this insurance topic. I promise to stay on top of it. I promise to be going to Tallahassee and working on finding solutions to how gig workers can more easily get insurance, and what can we do to make the marketplace friendlier to what is a big portion of Florida's economy. I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog. Until next time, go get 'em!